At the family reunion, my uncle said, "Isn't it time we controlled our women properly?" Uncle Rick said it during dinner at the pavilion. Right after my Aunt Linda stood up to get more potato salad, the whole table went silent. "Isn't it time we controlled our women properly?" Like they did in the old days. My mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. My sister Emma stopped mid-sentence. But what happened next was strange. Nobody argued with him. Nobody called him out. Instead, my dad nodded slowly, and my grandfather said something quietly to my grandmother, who immediately sat back down even though she'd been heading to the dessert table. I looked at my girlfriend Ashley, expecting her to say something. She was always quick to shut down sexist comments, but she was staring at her plate, completely still. I laughed nervously and said that was messed up. Uncle Rick turned to look at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Cold and focused. My dad put his hand on my shoulder, squeezed hard, and told me to drop it. The reunion continued, but the atmosphere felt wrong. I noticed the women were staying close to the pavilion, not wandering to the playground with the kids or walking to the lake like they normally did. When I suggested Ashley and I take a walk to the dock, my mom said it would be better if we stayed where everyone could see us. Ashley agreed immediately, which wasn't like her at all. She loved walking by the lake. I went to grab drinks from the cooler near the parking lot. As I was digging through the ice, I heard Uncle Rick talking to my dad and grandfather behind their trucks. They didn't know I was there. Rick was saying something about how they needed to do it tonight, that they'd waited long enough. My dad asked if everyone was on board, and my grandfather said all the men had agreed except me, because nobody had talked to me yet. Do what tonight? Agreed to what? Uncle Rick said I was young and didn't understand how things needed to be, but they'd bring me around. They couldn't have any weak links. I walked back slowly. At the pavilion, I noticed more strange things. The women were sitting together at one end of the table. The men were grouped at the other. That had never happened at our reunions before. My cousin Jen, who was usually loud and funny, wasn't talking at all. My Aunt Linda kept glancing at the parking lot. When I sat down next to Ashley, I whispered and asked if she noticed everyone acting weird. She nodded but wouldn't look at me. Then she said very quietly that I should just go along with whatever happens tonight. Go along with what? She squeezed my hand under the table, and her palm was sweating. My little cousin Danny ran past our table, and his mom Sarah called him back sharply. She told him to stay in the pavilion where she could see him. Danny was 12 and had been running around unsupervised at these reunions his whole life. The sun started setting, and my dad announced that the men needed to have a meeting in the barn. He looked directly at me and said I needed to come too, that it was time. The women all stood up simultaneously and started clearing tables, moving faster than necessary. I didn't want to go to the barn. Something in my gut was screaming that I shouldn't, but my dad's expression made it clear this wasn't optional. Ashley grabbed my wrist as I stood up. Her grip was desperate. She whispered that I should text her the moment I was out, that if she didn't hear from me in 30 minutes, she'd know something went wrong. I walked toward the barn with my dad, uncle, grandfather, and 8 other male relatives. The door closed behind us, and I realized there were no windows, just oil lanterns lighting the space. And in the center of the barn was something covered with a tarp. Uncle Rick pulled the tarp off, and that's when I understood what they meant by controlling our women properly. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below.